Lieutenant Marcus Webb's escape pod screamed through the atmosphere of Kepler 442b, trailing fire and debris. The battle had been brief and brutal, humanity's exploratory fleet ambushed by an unknown aggressor near the edge of colonized space. Marcus was the only one who made it to a pod before his ship, the Valiant Dawn, was torn apart. The pod slammed into alien soil with bone-jarring force. Warning lights flashed red across the cracked display. Life support, critical. Communications, offline. Location, unknown. Marcus dragged himself from the wreckage, blood trickling from a gash above his eye, his left leg screaming in agony. The world around him was twilight purple, with crystalline formations jutting from rust-colored ground. 2 moons hung in the sky like watchful eyes. Beautiful, but utterly hostile. His suit's readout confirmed it: toxic atmosphere, sub-zero temperatures at night, and his oxygen reserves wouldn't last more than 6 hours. Marcus limped toward a ridge, hoping for higher ground, better signal. Each step sent lightning through his fractured tibia. He'd made it perhaps half a kilometer when his vision began to blur. Blood loss. Shock. The cold seeping through his damaged suit that he collapsed against a crystalline outcropping, fumbling for the emergency beacon in his kit. His fingers, numb and clumsy, finally found the activation switch. A weak pulse of light, red, then nothing. The battery had cracked in the crash. "Come on," he whispered through chattering teeth, "come on, you piece of..." The world tilted. Stars wheeled overhead, unfamiliar constellations that no human had ever named. Marcus thought of home, of Earth's warm sun, of his sister's laugh. He thought of the crew, Captain Rodriguez, Engineer Yuki, young Ensign Thompson who'd just turned 23. All gone. His eyes drifted closed. That's when he heard it, a high-pitched thrumming sound, like wind through crystal chimes. Marcus forced his eyes open. Lights approached through the purple haze, moving with purpose. Not human lights. Not human movement. 3 figures emerged from the darkness. They stood roughly 7 feet tall, with elongated limbs and bodies covered in what looked like segmented armor or perhaps exoskeleton. Their heads were angular, with multiple eyes arranged in a crescent pattern that glowed with soft bioluminescence. No mouth that Marcus could see, but a series of breathing slits along their necks that pulsed rhythmically. One of them knelt beside him, and Marcus saw that their hands had 6 fingers, each ending in delicate, precise tips. The alien reached toward him, and Marcus's training screamed at him to fight, to run. But he had nothing left. The alien's touch was surprisingly gentle. The thrumming sound increased, and the other 2 began working on his suit, his wounds. Marcus felt warmth spreading through his body as they applied some kind of gel to his injuries. The pain in his leg began to fade. "Where am I?" Marcus croaked. His throat felt raw, but when he looked down, his wounds were gone. The gash on his head, the broken leg, all healed, leaving only faint lines where the injuries had been. "Safe," the alien responded. The thrumming sound came from a device on its chest. "We are the Caliph. You are aboard our medical vessel Harmonious Mercy. You were dying. We helped." Marcus struggled to sit up. The alien didn't stop him, but one hand hovered nearby, ready to assist. "My ship, my crew." "Gone," the Caliph said, and though the translator rendered the word clinically, Marcus heard something like sorrow beneath it. "We detected the battle. By the time we arrived, only your life pod remained. We are sorry." Marcus felt the grief crash over him fresh and raw. Rodriguez had been his friend for 10 years. Yuki had 3 kids back on Europa Station. Thompson had dreams of being the first human to map the Perseus arm. "Who attacked us?" Marcus demanded, anger cutting through the sorrow. "The Vrexel Dominion," the Caliph replied. "They consider this sector their territory. They do not negotiate. They do not show mercy." The alien's eyes shifted to a darker red. "They found your exploration fleet threatening. We were just exploring. We weren't armed for combat. Those were science vessels, for God's sake. We know." The Caliph moved to a panel on the wall, manipulating it with those six-fingered hands. A holographic display materialized, showing star charts Marcus didn't recognize. The Vrexel are expanding aggressively. Many species have fallen to them. Many more hide or flee. The galaxy is becoming smaller. Marcus slid off the platform, testing his newly healed leg. It held firm, no pain. So what happens to me now? You just drop me back on some human world. The Calitha's eyes cycled through colors, contemplation, Marcus guessed. We could. But we have been monitoring your species for 3 of your years. You are young, technologically. Naive to the dangers beyond your small cluster of stars. If we return you without knowledge, without warning, more of your people will die. Then warn us, Marcus said firmly. I'll tell them everything. About the Vrexel, about the threats out here. Will they listen to one survivor, the alien asked. Or will they call you traumatized, unreliable? The question hit home. Marcus knew humanity's bureaucracy, knew how slowly the colonial council moved, how they dismissed anything that didn't fit their careful expansion plans. Probably not, he admitted quietly. Then perhaps, the Caliph said, you stay with us. Learn. Understand the galaxy as it truly is. And then, when you are ready, help your people survive it. 6 months aboard the Harmonious Mercy changed everything Marcus thought he knew about the universe. The Caliph weren't just advanced, they were old. Their civilization had been exploring the stars for over 40,000 years while humans were still painting on cave walls. They'd seen empires rise and fall, watched species evolve and go extinct, mapped regions of space that human astronomers hadn't even detected yet. And they were healers. Doctors. Rescuers. We made a choice long ago, explained Velmora, the Caliph who'd first found Marcus. She'd become his primary teacher, his guide to this new reality. After our first war nearly destroyed us, we decided, never again would we take life. Instead, we would preserve it wherever we found it. We became the galaxy's physicians. They stood in the observation deck, watching as the Harmonious Mercy approached a debris field. Another battle, another massacre. The Vrexel had ambushed a convoy of Tekkan refugees, a species of aquatic beings fleeing their conquered homeworld. How many survivors? Marcus asked quietly. Sensors detect 17 life signs, Velmora replied. From an original convoy of 300. The recovery operation was flawlessly efficient. Caliph medical teams deployed in rapid response pods, extracting survivors from shattered hulks and providing immediate treatment. Marcus watched through the view screens as they worked, their movements precise and practiced. Too practiced. They'd done this thousands of times. Why doesn't anyone fight back? Marcus asked, frustration building. Why doesn't anyone stop the Vrexel? Many have tried, Velmora said. The Vrexel have conquered 43 star systems. They possess weapons technology centuries ahead of most species. And they are relentless. They do not accept surrender. They do not take prisoners. They simply eliminate. Marcus's hands clenched into fists. So the galaxy just watches. Just lets them murder and conquer. Not everyone watches. Velmora's eyes shifted to a color Marcus had learned meant resolve. There are those who fight. The problem is coordination. The galaxy is vast, Marcus. Species develop independently, with different technologies, different communication methods, different ideologies. Creating a unified resistance against the Vrexel has proven difficult. Over the following weeks, Marcus threw himself into learning everything he could. He studied Caliph medicine, xenobiology, the political landscape of known space. He learned about the Sovereign Alliance, a loose coalition of species who'd banded together for mutual protection, though they lacked the military strength to challenge the Vrexel directly. He also learned about humanity's place in this cosmic hierarchy, absolutely nowhere. Humans were nobodies, primitives who'd barely managed faster-than-light travel. Earth's entire colonial network, 14 systems, 37 settlements, represented less than a rounding error in the galaxy's population. "We're insignificant," Marcus said one evening, studying holographic maps of charted space. "Size is not significance," Velmora replied. "The Quillith are a species of 7 billion. The Vrexel number in the trillions. Yet the Quillith invented quantum resonance healing, technology that has saved countless lives across hundreds of species. Numbers mean nothing. Contribution means everything. What can humanity contribute?" Marcus asked. "What do we have that matters?" Velmora was quiet for a long moment. Then, "You saved me once." Marcus blinked. "What?" "Not you specifically. Your species. 15 years ago, I was part of a medical team responding to a plague outbreak on Kepler, 62F. We were overwhelmed, 3 Caliph trying to treat thousands of infected VRNN. We were failing." She manipulated the holographic display, bringing up an image Marcus recognized immediately, a human colony ship. "The Pioneer's Hope," Velmora continued. "They received our distress call. They had no medical training in VRNN physiology. No obligation to help. But they came anyway. Your doctors worked alongside us for 3 months. They saved 4,000 lives." Marcus stared at the image. He'd been just a kid when the Pioneer's Hope launched. "That is what humanity contributes," Velmora said softly. "You see someone in need, and you help. No matter the cost. No matter the risk. That is rare in the galaxy, Marcus. Rarer than you know." 8 months after his rescue, Marcus stood in the Harmonious Mercy Strategic Planning Center, staring at something that made his blood run cold. The holographic display showed a section of space humanity had designated Zone 7, an area marked for colonial expansion. 3 systems with potentially habitable worlds. The Colonial Council had been preparing a major expedition, 6 colony ships, 15,000 settlers, humanity's largest extrasolar venture yet. And directly in their path, a Vrexel staging area. "When?" Marcus demanded, his voice tight. Velmora manipulated the display, bringing up projected trajectory lines. "Your colony fleet launches in 7 of your months. They will enter this system," she highlighted a yellow star, "approximately 3 months after that. The Vrexel fleet will detect them within hours. We have to warn them," Marcus said immediately. "Send a message, tell them to abort. We have no direct communication with Earth's government," another Caliph, Telson, interjected. He was older than Velmora, his exoskeleton marked with intricate patterns that denoted decades of service. The Caliph maintained neutrality. "We do not interfere in political matters. This isn't politics." Marcus slammed his hand on the console. "This is 15,000 lives. Which is why we brought this to you," Telson replied calmly. "You are human. You can warn them. But understand, if we directly involve ourselves, we risk the treaties that allow us to operate across neutral space. The Vrexel barely tolerate our rescue operations. If they believe we're aiding military intelligence, they'd stop you from saving anyone," Marcus finished quietly. The calculus was brutal but clear. The Caliph saved thousands every week. Compromising that to warn one species would be, what? Logical? Necessary? Wrong. "There has to be another way," Marcus insisted. Velmora's eyes shifted through contemplative colors. "Perhaps there is. We cannot officially communicate with your government. But we can deliver you to a human outpost. From there, you could warn them yourself." Would they believe me? Marcus had been listed as Kia 9 months ago. Showing up alive would raise questions, and his story about alien saviors and impending invasions would sound like either fantasy or trauma-induced delusion. "Unknown," Telson admitted. "But you are their only chance." Marcus spent the next day preparing. The Caliph provided him with everything they could, detailed intelligence on the Vrexel fleet, star charts, even a small emergency beacon that could summon Caliph medical ships if needed. "We're breaking protocol giving you this," Velmora explained as she handed him the beacon. "But you saved my life once, my species saved yours. That creates obligation." "Debt," Marcus corrected. "That's what humans call it." "No." Velmora's eyes were firm. "Obligation is different. Debt must be repaid. Obligation is ongoing. Your species helped mine, so we help you. Then perhaps you help someone else. The chain continues. That is how civilization survives." The harmonious Mercy dropped Marcus at the outer edge of the Proxima Centauri system, close enough for a shuttle to reach the human colony there but far enough to avoid detection. As Marcus prepared to depart in a small Caliph shuttle modified for human use, Velmora stopped him. "Marcus," she said. "Whatever happens, whether they believe you or not, know this, you have given humanity a chance. That is all any of us can ever do. Give chances. The rest is up to others to seize." The shuttle's engines hummed to life. Marcus took one last look at the harmonious Mercy, at the ship that had saved his life and changed his understanding of everything. Then he flew toward home, carrying a warning that might save his species, or might mark him as a madman. Either way, he had to try. Because that's what humans did. They saw someone in need, and they helped. Even when that someone was themselves. Marcus spent 3 weeks in debriefing rooms on Proxima Station, repeating his story to increasingly skeptical officials. Some believed him. Most didn't. All of them wanted proof he couldn't provide. Alien medical ships. 40,000-year-old civilizations. An empire that's conquered 43 star systems. Admiral Catherine Park leaned back in her chair, fingers steepled. "Lieutenant Webb, I want to believe you. Your service record is impeccable. But you're asking me to convince the Colonial Council to abort a 15 billion credit mission based on, what? Your word. Based on the fact that 15,000 people will die if we don't," Marcus shot back. "We've scanned Zone 7 extensively," Park continued. "We've detected no hostile presence. No ships, no stations, no evidence of this Vrexel Dominion you keep mentioning. Because they're using stealth technology beyond our sensor capabilities." Marcus pulled up the data pad the Caliph had given him, displaying the star charts. "Look, I've marked their exact positions. Positions based on information from aliens we can't verify exist." Park's expression softened slightly. "Marcus, I'm not saying you're lying. I'm saying you experienced severe trauma. You lost your entire crew. You survived alone on a hostile world until, by your account, you were rescued. Is it possible your mind filled in gaps? Created a narrative to explain your survival?" Marcus wanted to scream. Instead, he took a breath. "Ma'am, permission to speak freely?" "Granted. If I'm wrong, you delay a colony mission by a few months while we verify the zone is clear. If you're wrong, 15,000 colonists die, and humanity loses 6 colony ships we can't afford to replace." He met her eyes. "What's the acceptable level of risk?" Park was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood. "I'll take it to the council. But Marcus, you need to understand something. We've been expanding for 30 years without encountering hostile intelligence. The prevailing theory is that we're alone, or nearly so. Your story challenges that entire worldview. It will take more than charts and passion to change minds." The Colonial Council meeting was worse. Marcus presented his case to 17 representatives from Earth's various colonial administrations. Some listened politely. Others interrupted with increasingly hostile questions. One counselor from the Europa delegation actually laughed. "So let me understand," Counselor James Rourke said, his voice dripping with condescension. "These Caliph saved you out of pure altruism. They healed your wounds with miracle technology. They taught you about galactic politics. And then they just let you go. Didn't ask for anything in return. They asked me to warn humanity, Marcus replied evenly. How convenient. And where are these beneficent aliens now? Why haven't they contacted us directly? I explained that. They maintain neutrality. Neutrality. Rourke leaned forward. Let me offer an alternative explanation, Lieutenant. You were captured by an unknown entity. Possibly interrogated. Possibly implanted with false information designed to disrupt our expansion. Has that possibility occurred to you? Marcus felt cold rage building. Counselor, I know what I experienced. You know what you remember, Rourke interrupted. Memory is unreliable. Especially after trauma. I move that we table this discussion and proceed with the Zone 7 mission as planned. We cannot allow unverified claims to derail humanity's future. The vote was 12-5 against delaying the mission. Marcus left the council chambers feeling hollowed out. He'd failed. 15,000 people would die because he couldn't make them believe. But as he walked through Proxima Station's main concourse, something caught his eye. A news feed displaying recent deep space scans. There, in the background of a routine survey image, was a spatial distortion that matched the Caliph descriptions of Vrexel stealth fields. Marcus pulled up his data pad, comparing coordinates. The distortion was exactly where the Caliph chart said it would be. He had proof. Partial, circumstantial proof, but proof nonetheless. Marcus sprinted back toward the council chambers, data pad in hand, hope surging in his chest. Maybe he hadn't failed yet. Maybe. The explosion threw him off his feet. Alarms screamed through Proxima Station as Marcus pulled himself up, ears ringing. Emergency bulkheads slammed down across the concourse, trapping hundreds of panicked civilians. Through the viewports, Marcus saw something that made his stomach drop. Ships. Dozens of them, materializing out of stealth like demons from smoke. Their hulls were black as space itself, angular and covered in what looked like organic ridges. Vrexel. The station shuddered under weapons fire. Marcus grabbed a nearby security officer. We need to evacuate. No time, the officer shouted over the alarms. They're targeting the docking bays. They're not trying to board, they're trying to trap us. Another impact. The lights flickered. Through the chaos, Marcus's tactical training kicked in. The Vrexel weren't invading, they were destroying. This was a message, stay out of our territory. And humanity had just learned it had neighbors. The attack lasted 17 minutes. When the Vrexel ships vanished back into stealth, they left Proxima Station crippled. 3 docking bays destroyed. 47 dead. Hundreds wounded. And the Colonial Council suddenly very interested in what Marcus Webb had to say. We need those aliens of yours, Admiral Park said bluntly. They stood in the station's damaged command center, surrounded by the frantic activity of damage control. The Caliph. Can you contact them? Marcus pulled out the emergency beacon Velmora had given him. This will summon a medical ship. But they won't fight. They're healers, not soldiers. I don't need soldiers. I need information. Park's expression was grim. We're children playing in a jungle full of predators, Marcus. We need guides. We need allies. Can they give us that? Marcus activated the beacon. A pulse of light, then nothing. Would they come? The Caliph had made it clear they avoided political entanglements. But this was a humanitarian crisis now, their specialty. 6 hours later, the Harmonious Mercy emerged from FTL on the edge of the system. Velmora's arrival caused a sensation. The first confirmed alien contact in human history, and she walked through Proxima Station's corridors with calm dignity, her multiple eyes taking in everything while traumatized humans stared in awe and fear. The meeting between human leadership and the Caliph was tense. Park wanted military intelligence. Velmora insisted on treating the wounded first. Lives before strategy, she said firmly. Always. But as Caliph medical teams worked alongside human doctors, saving lives with technology that seemed like magic, Velmora pulled Marcus aside. This is not an accident, she said quietly. The Vrexel knew about the council meeting. They knew you were warning your people. This attack was specifically designed to validate your claims while demonstrating their power. How did they know? Marcus asked. The galaxy is smaller than you think. Information travels. Spies exist among every species, even ours. Velmora's eyes shifted to a troubled amber. Marcus, there is something you must understand. The Vrexel do not conquer randomly. They expand strategically, targeting species and territories that serve specific purposes. Your Zone 7 contains something they want. Something worth showing their hand to protect. What? We do not know. But we will help you find out. Velmora paused. There is a price, though. Not for our aid, we give that freely. But understanding the price of survival in this galaxy. Your species must grow up quickly, Marcus. The universe does not wait for children to be ready. Over the next weeks, everything changed. The Caliph shared star charts, technological insights, intelligence on the Vrexel and other galactic powers. They introduced human diplomats to the Sovereign Alliance. They taught human engineers about energy systems that could defend against advanced weapons. But most importantly, they taught humanity the lesson every spacefaring civilization eventually learned: you are not alone, and you are not safe. The Zone 7 mission was cancelled. The 6 colony ships were retrofitted with Caliph-provided defense systems. Humanity's exploration fleets were recalled and reorganized. And a decision was made. We were saved, Marcus said during a broadcast to all human colonies. He'd become the unofficial ambassador to the Caliph, the human face of first contact. One human, alone and dying on a hostile world, was saved by strangers who owed us nothing. They helped because that's what they do. They preserve life. He paused, looking directly into the camera. Now it's time we return the favor. Not just to the Caliph. To everyone. Every species struggling against the Vrexel. Every refugee fleeing destruction. Every civilization trying to survive in a galaxy that's become too dangerous for anyone to face alone. We're small. We're young. We're weak. But we're humans. And when someone needs help, we answer. All of them. 2 years after the attack on Proxima Station, the Valiant Dawn II emerged from FTL at the edge of Zone 7. But this wasn't a colony ship. This was a rescue fleet. Commander Marcus Webb stood on the bridge, his bridge now, looking at the holographic display showing the battlefield ahead. Vrexel forces had just decimated a Tekken evacuation convoy. The same species he'd watched being massacred years ago aboard the Harmonious Mercy. But this time, humanity wasn't watching. All ships, battle stations, Marcus ordered. Medical teams, prepare for mass casualties. Fighter wings, defensive formation. Remember, our job is to get those survivors out. The Sovereign Alliance fleet will handle the Vrexel. And there they were, ships from a dozen species, all coordinated through quantum communication networks the Caliph had helped humanity integrate. The galaxy had been fragmented, unable to unite against the Vrexel threat. Until humans showed them how. It turned out that humanity's contribution wasn't advanced technology or superior firepower. It was something simpler: humanity didn't see strangers. They saw people who needed help. The Caliph had saved one human. Marcus had convinced humanity to return for everyone. The battle was brief but intense. Vrexel destroyers engaged the Alliance fleet while Marcus's rescue ships swept through the debris field. Human medical teams worked alongside Caliph healers, pulling Tekken survivors from wreckage, stabilizing injuries, evacuating them to safety. "Commander, we've recovered 217 survivors," his XO reported. "Kalith's ships are handling another 180. The Vrexel are retreating." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. 2 years ago, nearly 300 Tekken had died in a similar attack. Today, they'd saved almost all of them. "Take us to rendezvous point," he ordered. "Let's get these people home." The Harmonious Mercy waited at the safe zone, along with a fleet of other vessels, human, Kalith, Quilith, Verwenen, and a dozen other species. An unprecedented coalition born from a simple principle: when someone needs help, you help. Velmora met Marcus in the docking bay as survivors were transferred to long-term care facilities. "You have come far," she said, her eyes shifting through proud colors. "Your species has matured quickly." "We had good teachers," Marcus replied. "And a good example. You saved me when you had no reason to. That taught us something important." "What?" "That survival isn't about being the strongest or the smartest. It's about being willing to help each other." Marcus gestured to the fleet outside. 2 years ago, the Vrexel were unstoppable because everyone faced them alone. Now, they're retreating because we're facing them together. "The war is not over," Velmora cautioned. "The Vrexel control vast territories. They will adapt." "I know. But every species they threaten now has somewhere to turn. Someone who will answer the distress call. That changes everything." Over the following months, the alliance grew. Human diplomats proved surprisingly effective at bringing disparate species together, possibly because humanity was so new to galactic politics that they hadn't developed the prejudices and old grudges that divided older civilizations. Marcus continued leading rescue operations, each one saving hundreds or thousands of lives. Each success brought more species into the alliance, more ships to the cause. The Vrexel expansion slowed, then stopped, then began to reverse as liberated systems joined the coalition. It wasn't a quick victory. The Vrexel were still powerful, still dangerous. But the galaxy had changed. Species that had hidden or fled now stood together. Refugees found safe harbor. Distress calls were answered. 3 years after Marcus's rescue, he stood once again in the observation deck of the Harmonious Mercy, watching as the Alliance fleet prepared for its largest operation yet, the liberation of Tekka Prime, the Tekken homeworld that had been under Vrexel control for a decade. Velmora joined him, her presence a comfortable silence. "Do you ever regret it?" Marcus asked. "Saving me that day? You set all this in motion. Regret preserving a life?" Velmora's eyes shifted to a warm gold. "Never. We saved you because that is what we do. What came after, the alliance, the resistance, the change, that was your choice. Your species' choice. We merely provided the opportunity." "The Kalith philosophy," Marcus said with a slight smile. "Give chances. Let others seize them." "Precisely." She gestured to the fleet outside, hundreds of ships from dozens of species, united for the first time in galactic history. "We saved one human. You convinced humanity to save everyone. That is not our accomplishment, Marcus. It is yours." The liberation of Tekka Prime took 6 days of fierce fighting, but when it ended, the Vrexel presence was broken. Millions of Tekken returned to their homeworld, and the Vrexel Dominion, for the first time in its expansionist history, sued for a ceasefire. At the peace negotiations, Marcus stood as humanity's representative. The Vrexel ambassador, a towering figure of chitin and cold intelligence, regarded him with what might have been grudging respect. "Your species is young," the Vrexel said through translators. "Yet you have accomplished what older civilizations could not. You united the scattered. You gave hope to the defeated." "Why?" Marcus thought about his answer carefully. "Because someone once saved me when they had no obligation to. They showed me that civilization isn't about taking, it's about giving." We're just paying forward a debt. Obligation, the Vrexel said, and something in their tone suggested understanding. We do not share this philosophy. But we have learned to respect it. The ceasefire held. Borders were established. The Vrexel maintained their territories but ceased expansion. The alliance provided humanitarian aid to conquered populations, and slowly, freedom returned to enslaved systems. Years later, Marcus retired from active service and returned to Earth. But he never stopped working. He established the First Contact Initiative, training new human explorers in galactic diplomacy. He wrote extensively about humanity's place in the cosmic community. He became the voice reminding people why they'd ventured into the stars in the first place. On the anniversary of his rescue, Marcus received a message from Velmora. It contained a single holographic image, the crystalline outcropping on Kepler 442b where she'd first found him, dying in the purple twilight. A memorial had been built there. Not to Marcus specifically, but to the principle his rescue represented. A simple monument with text in 100 languages, all saying the same thing. They saved one, so we returned for all. Marcus stared at the image for a long time, remembering that terrifying night, the pain, the despair. The moment when alien hands had reached toward him with impossible gentleness. The moment everything changed. He'd been saved by strangers. And humanity had spent every day since trying to deserve that kindness. That, Marcus reflected, was what civilization meant. Not technology or territory or power. Just the simple, profound decision to help each other survive. One life at a time. All lives together. Forever.